Hey guys, it's Mr. Calderon with Queen My Pawn. It's been a while since I made a video, but recently I have been trying out the open Sicilian instead of the closed Sicilian, and honestly I'm having great results playing the open Sicilian. I'm learning a lot of tactics, the game is way more exciting, and honestly I've never fallen in love with closed positions. So let's go ahead and see a special variation that I want to talk about today. I was looking at a game where Fischer played one of the non-Soviet grandmasters at the time, Gligoric, and in the first time that he wins against Gligoric, he employs this variation called the Fischer-Sozin Attack. So let's take a look at it. And Fischer is white in this game, so he plays e4, and Gligoric plays the Sicilian c5. So then knight f3, knight c6, d4. Obviously if d6, you can still play d4. So it doesn't make much of a difference, it still transposes as we'll see. So knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes e4. So this is the open Sicilian. Knight to f6, knight to c3. You'll get this position like a lot if you play in tournaments or if you just play for fun. Like people as black, they'll play the Sicilian commonly against e4. And at first I used to hate playing against the Sicilian, so I tried playing the closed Sicilian to try to get them out of the book, but half of the time that never worked. So you just have to play the best moves, and these are the best moves. Fischer played them all the time, as you'll see here. So d6, so this is the Sicilian 4 knights. And now, this is the special move that Fischer played the whole time, bishop c4. And the point is that you're attacking f7. So you're attacking f7 right there. You're bringing out a bishop. You're gonna castle soon. So it's definitely a strong developing move, and it cannot be a wrong move. Now, in the game, Gligoric played bishop d7, okay, which is okay. I mean, it develops a piece, but I'm not trying to go into detail with this. Instead, I want to talk about g6. It looks like they're trying to play the dragon, right? But this is the incorrect move order for the dragon. Usually the knight isn't developed to c6 yet. Now, the cool thing about it is that in this move order, white has an instant way to win, or at least get a better position out of it. And Fischer was the first to demonstrate this, so go ahead and try to pause the video and see what the best sequence is for white. And it actually is a combination. So white already has a combination on the 7th move. So go ahead and try to figure out what it is. You can feel free to pause the video. Okay, now you should have seen that in previous puzzles that you may have done, or maybe you've never done this before, but the idea becomes this. Let's say that these things weren't in the way, right? Then clearly with all that out the way, you can do bishop takes f7, king takes f7, and then the queen takes the queen, winning a queen. The problem is twofold, is that right now you have a black knight that, the knight can just take back the queen. And second of all, there's too much stuff over here. So you want to move e5, but to clear up the file, but that doesn't work because the knight could always take back. Instead, obviously remove the defender of both e5 and d8. So that they'll have to take back because it's, otherwise we just get a free knight. And now you play e5. So this is definitely strong. And here's basically the trap, right? If you still haven't gotten it after pawn takes, it looks like we just gave up a free pawn, right? But unfortunately for black, we have distracted the king from the defense of the queen. The king has to take back its force. The king cannot run here because the queen, the white queen, is in the way, right? So the king takes back, and then the queen takes the queen. And so that's the basis of the trap. So because of that, after e5, black's best bet is to play knight to g4. But white still gets a great position after e takes e6, queen takes e6, and after trading queens, there are several things wrong with black's position. First of all, black has 3 pawn islands, and the pawn structure is weaker than white's. Second of all, white is more developed. He's got 2 pieces out versus black's 1, and we can always kick the knight back. After this move, we'll be ready to castle either queen side or king side. And simply, we are just way more flexible. And also, there are holes that if we get rid of black's dark bishop, then his game will be bad, as long as we keep the dark square bishop ourselves. So this is definitely a better position for white. So let's instead return to the position after e5. Instead, black decides to play knight to h5. This is even worse, obviously. And now try to find the best continuation for white. So feel free to pause the video again. Alright, well, this is basic knowledge. If you know about the 4-move checkmate, and you should, then clearly queen to f3 is the best move. You're attacking f7. He has no easy way to defend it. If he tries to play bishop f5, it's an instant fork with g4. And so therefore he has to play e6. It's basically the only move. Now some of you may protest. You might say, oh, what if d5? Well, that actually looks pretty strong, huh? So we have to move the bishop back, don't we? But that seems pretty weak. Try to find the better move. So it turns out that the best move, obviously in Morphy style, knight takes d5. When the pawn takes back, then bishop takes, and you have basically a fork. Attacking the rook and threatening queen takes f7, which is going to be disastrous. Wow. So after e6, which he's forced to play, then there are, we should just take the pawn, right? Well, not really. The problem with taking the pawn is that he just plays bishop to d7, and we have to move the queen back, and either he'll play d5 or take the pawn. He'll probably play d5 though. And black is okay in that position. But instead, what about this knight? It almost looks trapped actually. So let's play something like g4 first, kicking the knight back. And now we take the pawn, right? No. Instead, you have to focus on the fact that this hole right here is poorly defended, like terribly. And therefore knight to e4 is an obvious move. You can't really play bishop to e7 because you just take the pawn. And that's, or actually, you could take the pawn with the knight or the other pawn, but I'll probably take with the knight. No, I would take with the pawn, attacking the bishop. Anyways, there are 2 responses here, and one of them is obvious, right? Queen to a5. Apparently, forking the pawn and the king. Wow. It looks like we just lost the pawn, right? Try to find the best way to continue the game here. Well, luckily for us, we don't lose a pawn. The most active way to defend is obviously bishop to d2. When the queen takes the pawn, unfortunately, we take the queen. Well, unfortunately for them. So you should have seen that the queen gets trapped. And here's one of the key components of a trap is that there are several pieces active right now. And since they're active, after they capture one of, our traps, like the mouse capturing the cheese, then we just simply, we get them. And the queen can't go anywhere. That's one of the components of a trap. You need to have a lot of pieces protecting the escape squares. So, that was going to be a bad thing. After knight to e4, he can also play d5. But this is even worse. What's the best way to continue? Well, you should have seen that the hole here is really, really bad. And therefore, after knight to f6, king to e7, queen to a3 saves the day. Maybe you thought about b3 so that you have bishop to a3, but maybe he has something like c5 first, and then queen to c7, and then he can escape. So queen to a3 is definitely the move, and this leads to checkmate instantly. So basically, there you have it. I have introduced the Fischer-Sozin to you, and we'll get to analyze the Gleirich game, the bishop d7 variation in the future, but everyone needs to know this trap and everything that just happened, because I actually played this online, and like, the advantage is so strong. It's so strong. I'll probably make another video about that some other time, but if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to leave any comments, and I will see you on the next one.